Hey, Jacques here. In this video, we're going to focus on how to create a beautiful weather widget. I'm also going to show you a few extra things like creating an awesome icon buttons. In the previous video, we created quite a few things, and this video is part of a full video series where we are looking at how to create a home automation app in Figma. So let's jump right into it. Okay, so as we can see here, we have our outside home and our living room. And in the first video, we created dashboard and living room, but it was only the frames. We didn't do much. We talked a little bit about auto layout. We also created our beautiful icon buttons. If you haven't seen that video, make sure to check it out. We also created our color styles and our font stack. So you're on the actual artboard, you can see the color styles. On the right-hand side, I have it. I've added it as properties, as well as the font stack. I added the font stack and I call it heading 1, 2, 3 and paragraph copy. So you can see that we have 26, 21, 18, and 16. So we're definitely going to use that throughout our entire video that we are creating right now. We can also see the icons right here. And on the left-hand side of the assets, you can also see that I've added some assets and added some hover events on that icons. Again, make sure to check out that video. All right, so let's zoom out. What we want to create in this video is we want to create this beautiful weather widget. I'm also going to show you how to add or create these add device buttons as well. And we're going to do that by using the assets that we've already created. All right, let's start creating our weather widget, and we're going to do it in that frame that we created in the first video. I'm just going to click on it though, because I want to have a look at the auto layout settings. On the right-hand side, we can see that I've set the auto layout settings. We have a vertical gap of 0. We have horizontal and vertical padding set to 0. But the alignment is set to the bottom center. But for now, that's our end result, right? But for now, I want to set it to the top. And what we're going to do next is I'm going to hit the text tool. We're going to drop in a text tool here. You can see it's right in the center. That's good. That's what we want for now, I guess. What we're going to do now is we're going to add our text, and we're going to add partly cloudy. So I'm going to type in partly cloudy. Now we can see that we have some text. I'm gonna hit Control D and I'm gonna duplicate that. And we wanna create the city and the province. So because I'm in Canada, that is kind of what I've used. Obviously you can use whatever you want, whatever works best for you. But I'm gonna add Alberta. And what you can do, it's just a little side tip, is you can hit Control Enter. Because if you just hit Enter, you're gonna see that it's adding a bunch of lines, not what we want. But if you hit Control Enter, it cleans it up and makes it perfect for you to use. So now we have partly cloudy and we have the city and the province. The next thing is we need to add some text styles to it. I just want to double check the text style on this one. I can see it's 21 and the other one is 14px and I can see that it's set to light. Okay, now we're gonna go and click on our first text that we created and we are going to add the actual text styles. And we know that it's 21, so it's gonna be a heading 2. I'm gonna click on that and it's gonna change that for us automatically, exactly what we want. The second one though, I did not add it as a text style, so let's go ahead and add it right now. I am going to click on Calgary, Alberta, and I'm gonna add a text style, and let's just call this heading small heading for use. Whatever you want to add to the description, it's up to you. It's up to your development team. It's up to your design team, whatever works best, right? Okay, navigating back, we're going to use that. I'm going to click on the text styles and we're going to use heading small. Boom, it changes it to 14px. We can double check it by clicking on it and you will see that on the right-hand side, it has heading small. Okay, perfect. We have the two text styles here. I'm going to select both of them and I'm going to look at the left-hand side on the layers. We have our dashboard component, or our frame for that matter, and we are going to hit Control G because we want to group this together. And I'm just going to call it text area. Again, you can call it whatever you want. I like to name my layers, very important. It's a super crucial part of being a good designer. So once I've grouped that together, I am gonna hit auto layout and we're gonna make sure that we select align left. Okay, perfect. So now we have our text area, we've renamed it and we've set it as an auto layout. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start dropping in that icon. And I already have the icon here. I've already created it as a component, and in my assets, we can see it right here as components. So what we can do is we can take this and we can drop it in. By default, it will put it in between the text boxes. So when we go back to layers, we can see that it dropped our vector in between our text area. Not really what we want. So I'm going to select that vector. I'm going to move it out. Let's put it there for now. We're going to change this all together right now. I'm going to change the name. I'm just going to call it cloud icon. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to select both of them, and I'm going to, that's right, hit Control G. I'm going to rename it, and I'm just going to call it outer widget area. Once I've renamed it outer widget area, I'm going to select the auto layout, and we're going to change the vertical layout to horizontal layout. Boom, that's exactly what we want. Perfect. So now when we open up our auto layout layer group frame thing, we're going to see that we have cloud icon and we have text area. Okay, so we're getting closer. Okay, so the next thing I want to do, I want to add a background image so that we can start getting this widget to look like that. A beautiful background. So let's do that. Let me just navigate back to it. It takes some time. We're going to make sure that we select the outer widget auto layout group item frame thing, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to hit fill, and we're going to change the fill. We're going to hover over image, and we're going to change it as a background image. All right, so now my background image is in there. And the next thing we need to do is we need to modify it a little bit because it's pretty dark. I want it to have a little bit of a blue tint towards it. So I'm going to play around with the temperature. I'm going to bring the temperature down slightly, and I'm going to add a bit of tint to it, just a little to the left. Again, this is all about how you feel about the image. There is no specific right or wrong, yes or no answer towards this. So it's all about how you feel and your experience as a designer. All right, coming back to it, we're gonna play around with it. I like it kind of there. And we're just gonna drop down the exposure a little bit. No, you know what? Let's not drop down the exposure. Let's keep it as is. The next thing though is I am going to add a full overlay, and I'm gonna change this color to a little bit of a blue, just so that we can get that look, that exact look that I'm looking for. All right, so that's done. The next thing we need to focus on is adding a bit of spacing padding and changing the color of that font. So first things first is we're gonna add a bit of horizontal padding. I'm gonna add 6px and also add vertical padding. You know what, let's make it more. Let's go out there. Let's change it to 20. What I want to do now is I want to add the border radius. So I'm going to add the border radius and I'm going to add 20 to it. All right. So now when we go back, we're starting to get there. I'm just going to hover over it and have a look at what we actually have as padding there. We have 20, so it looks good. It's okay. We're getting there. All right, so now we're gonna change the color, and I'm going to use my color properties to do so. I'm going to select Party Cloudy, and we're gonna select properties, and we're gonna select white. I'm gonna do the same for Calgary, Alberta. Boom, we have it right there. Now we need to add some spacing to our icon and our text. To do that, we are going to select both the icon and the text area. And what we're going to do, we're going to group it again. And trust me, you're going to see why, but I'm just going to say inner content left. And we're going to create an auto layout. We're going to make sure that it's center because we want that icon just to shift down a little bit. And then I'm going to play around with the vertical gap. We're going to maybe change it to 20. I'm going to show you why I've also grouped inner content left. It's because we need to add the actual temperature -23 Fahrenheit to the right hand side. So we're going to do that. I'm going to select and just have a look at what's the text property. So it's 24 and semi bold. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to select widget area. I'm going to take my text tool and I'm going to just click anywhere. And we're going to say -23 Fahrenheit. I am going to detach the text heading though, and I'm going to change it to, let's change it to heading 1. The next thing is we need to move this -23 to the right spot. I think it's actually at the right spot, so we don't actually need to move it, but we're going to select auto widget area, and we are going to change the vertical gap to auto. And when we do that, you're not really going to see much right now, but I'm just going to select the gap set to auto align center function. So it's just going to move it to the center. The next thing we need to do is we need to space this out so that it's actually something that we want. So I'm going to select my widget. At the right hand side, we have horizontal resizing, and I'm going to hit full gap, and it's going to move it to the whole artboard. It's kind of what we want. But now we need to start creating our outer kind of layer that we have right there, and we can see it's kind of a gray color. It's E3, 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 which from my previous video, we added that as the light color. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take outer widget area, we're gonna, yes, that's right, we're gonna group it again, and we're just gonna call it container. Done, and we're gonna hit auto layout. And now that we've done that, we are going to change the horizontal padding and vertical padding. We're going to change that. Let's start with, I'm going to start with 15. I know that that might be way too much, but for now, let's start with 15. We're going to select container and we're going to change the full. I'm going to select my properties. I'm going to hit light and you're going to see it right there. And I'm just going to detach it because I want to make sure that it's the correct color. Oh, and that's not the correct color. We want to make sure that it's E5. So it's probably the secondary color. Let's detach and have a look. Yeah, E3, E3, E3. So we are going to select secondary for that. So now we're getting closer. Next, we need to change the border radius on the top left and top right of our container. So I'm going to click on the border radius and we're going to change that to 20 and 20. And we're going to see that it's starting to look like something. It's starting to look like what we want here. Okay, so once that's all done, we have our beautiful widget. It looks good. It's exactly what we want. The next thing we want to do is we want to add the device, the icon button area. So let's go ahead and do that. In our previous video though, we created icon buttons and we added it into assets. So make sure to check that out wherever that is. I think it's left or right. I'm not sure. All right, so let's start by adding a text box. We're gonna add a text box and I'm gonna call it add device. You can just see it's huge. It's not what we want. Let's navigate back. We can see that we're using semi-bold and 18px. So we're gonna use our text properties. We're gonna select this heading 1 and we're gonna change that to exactly what we want. It's probably heading 2. I'm just gonna go back, just make sure it is 18. This one is, what is it? It's 21. So hey, it's heading 3. Perfect. Okay. Next, we wanna left align our add device. So we're gonna click on our layers on the left-hand side and we're gonna click and select perhaps container. And auto layout settings, we're going to make sure that it is left aligned. You're going to see it's going to move it to the left hand side. I'm also going to add a bit of spacing there. So I'm going to change this to 35 so that we have a bit of spacing there. And now we're going to start adding our icons that we created in the previous video. So I'm going to select my container and we are going to go back to assets and we're just going to start dropping them in. We're going to start dropping them in. I'm just going to drop a bunch of them in here. Now, when you drop them in, oh, I don't want that. I already have that one. When you start dropping them in, you're going to see that it's just putting it at the bottom. It's fine for now. Now I need to add, let's add the LED. Okay, perfect. I think we have what we need. Do we have the plus button? Yes, we do. All right. So now that we've added this, we need to go and group this all together. So I'm going to select all of them on the left-hand side in my layers and I'm going to hit Control G again. And we're just going to call this icons menu or whatever you want to call it. And we're going to hit auto layout. And now we're going to change our vertical layout to horizontal layout. Boom, I put it to a horizontal, but again, it's not what we want. We want to make sure that our horizontal gap is changed to auto. And next, we want to change this fixed. We want to change it to full our container. We can see that it's put it neatly and stacked it neatly, exactly what we want. We want to change the icon orientation though. So I want the plus, the TV, the LED strip, we want the little speaker and the thermostat. So we're going to change this up. We're going to hit the plus. We're going to move it right to the beginning. Then we want the TV and we want the LED strip, speakers and thermostat. Okay, perfect. The next thing though is I want to change this plus. I want it to have its second property or second variable in its component so that we can see the hover effect. So we're going to click on it. And again, previous video, we created this, but I'm going to change it to the hover focus area. And now we need to minimize this gap a little bit. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to select add device, make sure on the left-hand side in the layers that we've selected add device. And we're going to select our icons menu and we're going to group it again. We're going to change that to add device container. Oh, container, beautiful. And again, as always, auto layout. And we can see that we put it in auto layout, but now we're going to decrease the actual gap. I'm going to decrease the gap to, let's make it 15. And by the way, how I figure out my spacing in my designs is I use Bootstrap. I use Bootstrap's properties and variables. I'm going to launch a video of that in the coming weeks. I'm going to explain exactly to you how to prepare a design in Figma to fit a Bootstrap framework perfectly. All right, let's get back to it. Now that we have our add device, we've added it in as a auto layout component. It's a bunch of groups, but look, here's the beauty. We can actually hit Control D to duplicate it and it will stack it neatly below it. That's perfect. It makes life so much easier. Before auto layout, it was such a hassle to get to this point. Trust me, it took forever because you always had to look at your padding, you always had to look at your margin, you always had to make sure everything fits the way that it was supposed to. But with auto layout, you just literally hit Control D and it gets everything done. All right, for now, I'm just gonna delete that. I'm also gonna show you we can take this one, we can take the icons menu, we can hit Control D and we'll do the same thing. You know, it's quite good. It's quite good at what we want it to do. All right, so now we have our widget, we have our add device. We need to take this whole container and we need to move it to the bottom part of our dashboard frame. And I'll show you in the next video why we're doing that. We're gonna select our dashboard and we're going to move it on the right-hand side. We're gonna say align bottom and it's gonna move everything to the bottom of our dashboard frame. All right, so that was how you can create a widget and also add icon buttons. In the next video, we're gonna focus on how we can create dashboard tiles. And we're going to start putting this whole thing together. I'm also going to show you how we can create the menu, how we can create a beautiful looking mobile menu. And then at the end, once the series is done, I will show you how to use the prototype tool and how to connect everything together so that you can show everything to your project sponsors, your developers, or fellow designers of exactly how and what you are busy designing. All right, so if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I am posting videos on a weekly basis, so make sure to check it out. And thanks for watching.